Anger is something we all experience, whether it's in traffic, at work, or even in our relationships. It feels overwhelming, like a wave that comes crashing down and takes control. But what if I told you that the ability to manage your anger isn't just about holding it in until it bursts? It's about understanding it, owning it, and learning to navigate it with strength. Have you ever felt like your anger is taking over and you can't hold it in any longer? You try to stay calm, but something inside just snaps and suddenly you are reacting in ways you don't want to. Saying things you'll regret or making decisions that can have long-term consequences. This moment, the moment where your emotions feel uncontrollable, is where the challenge begins. The truth is, anger is a natural emotion. It's not something you can eliminate. It's part of being human, but what you can control is how you respond to it. You don't have to let it dictate your actions, cloud your judgment, or ruin relationships. Instead, you can learn to use your anger as a tool to channel it into something productive and to diffuse it before it takes control. In this episode, we are going to explore 10 practical steps that will help you manage your anger, even when it feels like it's about to spill over. These aren't just theoretical ideas. These are actionable steps grounded in both Stoic philosophy and modern emotional intelligence that you can start using today. But before we dive into the steps, let me share a story that will help set the stage for understanding how we can change our response to anger. Meet James. James had a successful career, a loving family, and a good group of friends. But like many of us, he struggled with anger. It wasn't the kind of rage that exploded outward, but more like a simmering frustration that would quietly build up inside him. He would bottle it up at work, hold his tongue at home, but then when the smallest thing went wrong, like his coffee spilling or a traffic light turning red, he would snap, sometimes without even realizing it. One evening, after yet another outburst at a dinner with his family, James realized something. He felt guilty, but more than that, he felt out of control. He wasn't angry about the small things. He was angry because he wasn't dealing with the real issues, the things that built up inside him. Over time, he didn't know how to release it, how to express his anger in a healthy way. So James decided to take a different approach. Instead of pushing his anger down or letting it explode, he started paying attention to it. He noticed when it was coming on, and he practiced taking a moment to breathe and reflect over time. This helped him not only manage his anger, but understand it better. He wasn't afraid of it anymore. He could control how he responded. James learned that anger, when managed correctly, could be a powerful tool for personal growth. It didn't have to control him, and it doesn't have to control you either. The lesson here is simple. You can control your anger by taking small, deliberate steps to understand and manage it. It starts with acknowledging it, and from there you can start working on healthier responses. Let's dive into those 10 steps to handling your emotions and taking back control. 1. Acknowledge your anger without beating yourself up. The first step in controlling your anger is simple, yet profound. Acknowledge it. We've all been there, right? You feel the heat rising inside you. Your fists clench, your heart races, and your thoughts start to spiral. And then almost immediately a voice inside your head says, "You shouldn't feel this way. Calm down, you are overreacting." But here's the truth. It's okay to be angry. So often we try to suppress or ignore our anger because we think it's something to be ashamed of. We tell ourselves that good people don't get angry, or I should be more patient. But suppressing your anger doesn't make it disappear. In fact, it often makes it worse, causing it to build up inside until it explodes in ways we can't control. The key to dealing with anger is not to deny it, but to acknowledge it for what it is, a natural human emotion. When you feel anger rising, don't judge yourself for it. Don't start that internal monologue of guilt and shame. Instead, simply notice it. Recognize that you are angry and accept that it's a part of the experience in that moment. By acknowledging your anger without judgment, you take away its power over you. You stop it from controlling your actions, and instead you begin to control your response. It's like holding up a mirror to your emotions. You don't have to act on them, But by recognizing them, you gain awareness. And awareness is the first step in taking control. This approach is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way I." In other words, by acknowledging your anger instead of fighting it, you allow yourself to move forward. You stop resisting your emotions, and in doing so, you open the door to clarity and understanding. Let's think about this in a practical way. Imagine you are stuck in traffic. You've been in the car for what feels like forever, and every car around you seems to be going slower than you. You can feel the anger starting to rise. You want to yell, honk the horn, or maybe even speed past everyone, anything to release the frustration. But before you do anything, pause for a moment. Simply notice the anger, recognize it. Tell yourself, "I am angry, and that's okay." In that brief moment of acknowledgement, you start to regain control. You don't have to act on the anger. Instead, you create a space between the emotion and your reaction. This space is where you can breathe, reflect, and choose how to respond in a way that aligns with your values. By practicing this, you build the skill of not letting anger drive your behavior. You stop being at the mercy of your emotions and start using them as signals to guide you toward more mindful responses. So the next time you feel anger rising, don't try to suppress it. Instead, recognize it. Name it, accept it. You're not failing because you feel anger. You are human. And by acknowledging it, you take the first powerful step toward managing it instead of letting it manage you. 2. Take a pause and breathe. When anger rises within us, our instinct is often to act quickly without thinking. Maybe we lash out, speak without filtering our thoughts, or let the intensity of the emotion drive our actions. In the heat of the moment, it can feel impossible to control, but here's the powerful truth. Taking a pause, even for a few seconds, can completely change the way you handle your anger. The second step to controlling your anger is to simply stop. Take a moment to pause and breathe. When you feel that anger bubbling up, resist the urge to react immediately. Instead, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you need to, and focus on your breathing. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold for a second, and then exhale. Slowly do this for a few moments. This pause isn't about avoiding the anger. It's about creating space between the emotion and your reaction. By slowing down, you give your mind a chance to reset. This simple act of breathing helps to calm your body, lower your heart rate, and bring your focus back to the present moment. It helps you regain control before the storm of anger takes over. There's an ancient Stoic practice that focuses on this very idea. Epictetus, one of the Stoic philosophers, taught that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And that's exactly what this pause does. It allows you to take control of your response rather than allowing your anger to control you. Imagine you are having a disagreement with someone, maybe a coworker or a close friend. Your emotions are starting to rise, and the words you want to say are already on the tip of your tongue. Before you let those words escape, take a pause, breathe in, breathe out. In that brief moment, you are not only giving yourself physical space to calm down, but you are also creating the mental space needed to choose a better course of action. This pause isn't just for anger. It's a powerful tool for managing all emotions. Think about a time when you were about to react impulsively, but you stopped and took a moment to breathe. Maybe it was a small decision like choosing whether to send a text in frustration, or a bigger one like how to respond in a heated conversation. That small pause can help you avoid saying something you don't mean, acting in a way you'll regret, or making a decision based on emotion rather than logic. The science behind this is powerful as well. When we are angry, our bodies go into a state of fight or flight. Our stress hormones spike, our muscles tighten, and our brains go into overdrive. But deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, which helps counteract the fight or flight response, bringing our body and mind back to a state of balance. It might sound simple, but it's incredibly effective. The next time you feel anger rising, remember you don't have to react immediately. Take a moment, breathe deeply, and let the anger pass through you. By creating this space, you'll be able to make more thoughtful, constructive decisions and approach the situation with a clearer mind. This pause is a small yet powerful tool. It's the difference between reacting out of frustration and responding with composure. It's the difference between letting anger control you and using your emotions to fuel positive change. So when anger hits, pause, breathe, and allow yourself the space to choose a better path. 3. Create some space. When anger starts to take hold, the last thing you want to do is stay locked in the same environment that triggered it. The more you stay in a charged situation, the more intense your anger becomes. That's why the third step in handling your anger is to create some space physically and mentally. The moment you feel anger rising, one of the best things you can do is remove yourself from the situation. Even if just for a few minutes, it's easy to think that you need to stay in the moment to deal with it, but often staying in the same environment only escalates the situation. You are more likely to say something you'll regret or let your emotions carry you away. If you don't give yourself a moment to breathe and think, creating space doesn't have to mean leaving the room or storming off, though that might be necessary in some situations. It could be as simple as stepping back physically, distancing yourself from the conflict. Take a quick walk, step into another room, or even just find a quiet corner to collect your thoughts. In those moments, your goal isn't to avoid the issue, it's to give yourself the time and space you need to cool down and regain control over your emotions. By physically removing yourself from the situation, you signal to your mind that you are in control, not your emotions. This gives you the chance to calm your nervous system, slow your racing heart, and clear your mind so you can return to the situation with a more rational perspective. Think about it this way. Have you ever tried to solve a problem when you were too emotional? It's almost impossible to think clearly, right? Anger clouds your judgment, and it's easy to jump to conclusions or make rash decisions. By stepping away from the situation, you allow yourself time to process your emotions and gain a clearer perspective. There's an important Stoic lesson here too. Epictetus taught that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In this context, the wealth isn't about material things, it's about the wealth of control we have over our emotional responses. Creating space in moments of anger is a way of exercising control. You don't need to be a slave to your emotions. You can choose to step back, pause, and return with a clearer mind. It's also worth noting that creating space can also be a form of self-care. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the chaos of life that we forget to take care of ourselves. Anger is often a sign that something is out of balance, whether it's stress, frustration, or something deeper. Taking a moment to step away gives you the chance to reconnect with yourself, breathe, and recharge. This doesn't mean that you have to walk away from every situation, but it does mean that you have the power to pause, take a step back, and approach your anger in a more measured way. When you remove yourself from the heat of the moment, you allow yourself the space to process your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. Next time you feel anger rising, remember, create space. Step back from the situation even for just a few minutes, whether it's stepping out for a walk, finding a quiet corner, or taking a few deep breaths. Giving yourself that space will help you regain control and approach the situation with a clear mind. 4. Use grounding techniques. When you are in the midst of anger, it can feel like you are losing control, like your emotions are taking over your mind and body. The intensity of that feeling is real, and it can be overwhelming. But here's the good news. You have the power to ground yourself and bring your emotions back under control. One of the most effective ways to do this is through grounding techniques. Grounding is a simple yet powerful practice that helps you reconnect with the present moment and regain a sense of control. It involves focusing on your physical sensations and what's happening around you right now, rather than getting lost in the spiral of your emotions. Grounding techniques help you detach from the emotional storm and bring yourself back to reality where you can think more clearly and act more thoughtfully. One of the simplest and most effective grounding techniques is to focus on your breath. When you feel anger rising, pause for a moment and take slow, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose, hold for a second, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. As you do this, pay attention to the sensation of the air moving in and out of your lungs. This helps bring your focus away from the anger and back to your body, calming both your mind and your nervous system. Another powerful grounding technique is to focus on your physical environment. Take a moment to notice the details of your surroundings. What can you see, hear, touch, or smell? Maybe it's the sound of your breathing, the feel of the ground beneath your feet, or the texture of an object in your hand. These simple observations can anchor you in the present moment and help you regain control over your emotions. You can also use tactile grounding. Focus on the physical sensations in your body, like the weight of your feet on the ground or the feel of your hands resting on a surface. This physical awareness can snap you out of the emotional fog and bring your focus back to your immediate environment where you're safe and in control. This technique is especially powerful because it shifts your attention away from the intense, swirling emotions inside you. By bringing your attention to the present moment, you give yourself space to pause and reset. You stop feeding into the anger, and instead you let your body and mind settle into a state of calm. Grounding techniques are backed by science too. Research shows that focusing on the present moment and engaging the senses can reduce anxiety, lower stress, and help regulate intense emotions like anger. When you feel yourself spiraling, taking just a minute or two to ground yourself can make a world of difference in how you feel and how you respond. Incorporating grounding techniques into your routine is a simple way to increase your emotional resilience. By practicing these techniques when you are not angry, you train your mind to use them effectively in moments of stress. This way, when anger strikes, you already have the tools in place to regain control. Remember, anger is a natural emotion, but you don't have to let it control you. By grounding yourself, you shift the power back into your hands. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start being the master of how you respond. Next time anger starts to rise, take a moment to ground yourself. Focus on your breath, your surroundings, or your body, and let that calmness guide you to a more measured, thoughtful response. 5. Express your anger. Calmly, anger is a powerful emotion, and sometimes the best way to handle it is by expressing it. But expressing anger doesn't mean lashing out or yelling. In fact, one of the most important steps in managing your anger is learning to express it calmly and constructively. The key here is to communicate your feelings without letting the anger control the conversation. So often when we are angry, we speak in the heat of the moment without thinking about how our words will land. We may say things we don't mean or escalate the situation, making things worse instead of better. The goal is to express yourself in a way that opens up dialogue rather than shutting it down. One effective method for expressing anger calmly is using I statements instead of pointing the finger and saying things like "you never listen" or "you always do this," which can make the other person defensive. Try framing your feelings from your perspective. For example, you might say, "I'm feeling frustrated because I don't feel heard," or "I felt upset when that happened." By using I statements, you take ownership of your emotions and communicate them in a non-blaming way. This technique is grounded in a core Stoic principle. We cannot control others, but we can control our own actions and reactions. When you take responsibility for your feelings and express them calmly, you are not only managing your own anger, but you are also encouraging healthier communication. The Stoics taught that virtue lies in self-control, and that means taking control of how you respond, not just to external events, but to the internal emotional reactions that those events trigger. By expressing your anger calmly, you are also showing respect for the other person involved. When we react impulsively or aggressively, it's easy to forget that the other person has their own emotions and perspective. But when you communicate with clarity and respect, You make it easier for the other person to understand your feelings and respond appropriately. This creates a space for a productive conversation where both parties can express themselves without escalating the conflict. Another important aspect of expressing anger calmly is timing. There are times when it's best to hold off on expressing your anger immediately. If you are too worked up, it may be better to wait until you've cooled down and can think more clearly. The Stoics often emphasize the importance of reflection before action. When you express anger in the heat of the moment, you risk saying things you'll regret. But when you take the time to gather your thoughts, you can communicate more effectively and with a greater sense of control. One simple exercise is to pause before you speak. Take a moment to breathe. Reflect on what you want to say and think about the impact your words will have. This brief pause can make all the difference in preventing a situation from escalating. The Stoics also remind us that emotions like anger are natural, but how we handle them determines our character. By choosing to express anger calmly, you practice self-discipline. You stop the impulse to lash out, and instead you consciously decide how you want to engage with the situation. This is the power of choice. Next time you feel the urge to express your anger, remember that it's not about suppressing it, it's about expressing it in a way that aligns with your values and your goals. Use I statements. Take a moment to reflect and choose to communicate calmly and respectfully. By doing so, you transform your anger from a destructive force into a tool for better communication and deeper understanding. 6. Focus on finding a solution. When we are angry, it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of the moment. We focus on how wrong the situation is, how hurt we feel, or how unfair everything seems. But while this emotional reaction is natural, it's also a trap. Dwelling on anger and frustration doesn't solve the problem. It only feeds the negative emotions. The next step in managing your anger is to shift your focus from the emotion to the solution. Instead of spiraling into more anger or frustration, ask yourself, what can I do about this? By focusing on finding a solution, you turn your emotional energy into something productive. The Stoics taught us to focus on what's within our control and to let go of what we can't change in the context of anger. This means that rather than fixating on what triggered the anger, you should ask yourself, what action can I take to resolve this? Or at least make it better? This simple shift in focus transforms anger from a destructive force into a powerful motivator for positive change. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you are having a disagreement with a colleague at work. Your frustration is rising because you feel that they're not respecting your time. Instead of continuing to ruminate on how unfair it is or getting upset about their behavior, take a moment to pause and think about the bigger picture. Ask yourself, what's the best way to approach this? How can I address the issue constructively? By shifting your focus from blame to solution, you break the cycle of anger and give yourself an opportunity to solve the problem. You might decide to calmly explain how you feel and why it's important to respect each other's time, or you might propose a new way of handling things to prevent future issues. The key is to use the anger as a source of motivation to make things better rather than letting it cloud your judgment and prevent you from taking positive action. Focusing on solutions doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending the situation isn't frustrating. It's about recognizing that while you can't always control what happens to you, you do have control over how you respond. This mindset is essential for self-discipline because it allows you to turn challenges into opportunities for growth. Another benefit of focusing on solutions is that it helps you feel more in control. When you focus only on the problem and the emotions it's creating, you can feel overwhelmed and helpless. But when you focus on what you can do to fix things, you regain a sense of agency. This empowers you to take charge of the situation instead of letting it control you. The next time you feel angry, try asking yourself, what can I do about this? Shift your energy away from the negative feelings and toward finding a solution. It could be as simple as having a conversation, setting boundaries, or making a change in your environment. The point is, by focusing on solutions, you direct your energy in a constructive way that moves you forward. Self-discipline is about taking action, not just reacting to circumstances. And when you focus on finding solutions, you take back control over your emotions and create a path forward. Even in the face of frustration. 7. Know what triggers you. Have you ever found yourself suddenly boiling with anger over something that, in hindsight, seems trivial? The truth is, we all have triggers, things, situations, or people that set us off without warning. Sometimes we don't even realize what's happening until the anger is already taking over. But here's the power in recognizing your triggers. Once you know what sets you off, you can take steps to prevent it from controlling you. The 7th step in managing your anger is to know your triggers. Pay attention to the situations or actions that consistently cause you to get angry. Is it when someone interrupts you? Is it when you feel disrespected or unheard? Or maybe it's when you're under pressure and the smallest inconvenience pushes you over the edge. Identifying your triggers is like shining a light on the things that are most likely to spark your anger, giving you a chance to prepare and manage your emotions before they explode. The Stoics believed that knowledge of ourselves was key to living a virtuous life. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions, no less than his capacity to control his own nature." Knowing what triggers you gives you the ability to better control your nature and ultimately your emotional responses. Once you've identified your triggers, the next step is to create strategies to deal with them. The goal is not to avoid the triggers completely. Some are beyond our control, but to be prepared when they arise. For example, if you know that being interrupted in a conversation triggers your anger, you can practice pausing before responding and taking a deep breath. If you are aware that stress builds up quickly when you are overloaded at work, you can set boundaries with your time, prioritize tasks, and build in moments of rest to reduce that pressure. Knowing your triggers also helps you communicate more effectively. If you understand what sets you off, you can talk about it with others and set clear expectations. For instance, if you are often angered by someone's tone of voice, explaining that calmly to them allows them to understand your perspective. By recognizing your own triggers and sharing them with others, you create an environment where both parties are more mindful of each other's needs. Another helpful technique is mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, you learn to stay present and aware of your emotional state before anger has the chance to take over. When you feel the tension building, take a mental step back and notice the trigger, whether it's a thought, a word, or a situation. By acknowledging it in the moment, you can make a conscious choice to respond instead of react. It's important to remember that triggers don't define you. They are simply patterns in your emotional responses, and once you identify them, you have the power to change how you respond. By taking the time to understand your triggers, you build emotional resilience and greater self-awareness. 2 key components of self-discipline. The next time you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, what's really triggering this reaction? Understanding your triggers gives you the opportunity to choose a more controlled response. With practice, you'll find that your emotional responses become less automatic, and you'll be able to navigate challenging situations with greater ease. 8. Get moving. When anger takes hold, it can feel like a powerful force weighing you down and clouding your mind. But one of the most effective ways to break free from that grip is to move your body. Physical activity isn't just good for your health. It's a powerful tool for managing emotions, particularly anger. Exercise helps release pent-up tension, reduces stress and clears your mind, making it easier to approach difficult situations with a calm and balanced mindset. The 8th step in managing your anger is to get moving, whether it's going for a run, doing yoga, or even just taking a brisk walk. Moving your body helps release the buildup of energy and stress that often fuels anger. Exercise triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural mood enhancers, which help to calm your mind and reduce negative emotions. Think about it. Have you ever felt that surge of relief after getting a good workout in? When you push your body, whether it's through intense physical activity or just a few stretches, it helps to release the intensity of your anger. In fact, exercise is one of the most effective ways to physically diffuse anger, providing an outlet for all the tension that's accumulated in your body. It shifts your focus away from what's angering you and towards something productive and positive. There's a reason why physical activity is often recommended as part of a stress management plan. The effects of anger are often felt physically. Tight muscles racing, heart shallow breathing. Exercise counteracts these physical symptoms, bringing your body back to a state of calm. The simple act of moving your body can reset your nervous system, lowering the adrenaline and cortisol levels that are triggered by anger. This doesn't mean you need to hit the gym for hours or run a marathon. Even a short burst of movement can make a big difference. Go for a quick jog, stretch, or do a few jumping jacks. If you are at home or work, step outside for a brisk walk. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about giving your body the opportunity to release the energy that's fueling your anger. Incorporating regular exercise into your routine doesn't just help you manage anger in the moment. It also builds emotional resilience over time. As you become more physically fit, you'll find that you handle stress and anger with more ease. You will be less likely to be overwhelmed by intense emotions because your body will be better equipped to deal with them. Exercise gives you more control over your physical and emotional state, helping you stay calm under pressure. Stoic philosophers such as Seneca recognized the value of taking care of one's body. Seneca often wrote about the importance of physical well-being in maintaining a balanced mind. His teachings remind us that self-discipline isn't just about controlling our thoughts and emotions. It's also about caring for our physical health. Moving your body is a way of honoring both your mental and physical well-being. So the next time anger starts to take over, try getting moving. Don't sit there letting it simmer. Get up, stretch, walk, or do something that gets your blood flowing. It'll help clear your mind, calm your body, and give you the emotional reset you need to respond to the situation thoughtfully. 9. Give yourself time to cool down. Sometimes the best response to anger is to do nothing at all. Not in the sense of avoiding the issue, but in the sense of taking the time you need to cool down before acting. We live in a world that often pushes us to react instantly, especially in moments of emotional intensity. But the truth is, rushing to resolve something when you are angry can lead to decisions you might regret later. Taking time to cool off doesn't mean ignoring the issue. It means giving yourself the space to process your emotions and approach the situation with a clearer head. The 9th step in managing your anger is to give yourself time to cool down. When you are angry, your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals are essential for dealing with immediate threats, but they can cloud your judgment and impair your ability to think rationally. By taking a break, you give your body the chance to reset. This simple act of stepping away can help you regain control and return to the situation with a clearer, calmer mindset. This doesn't mean you need to walk away from every conflict or avoid difficult conversations. It simply means that when anger rises, it's okay to pause before reacting. Sometimes just a few minutes of silence or a brief walk can help you cool down enough to approach the situation thoughtfully. The time you take to step back and breathe will give you the space to consider your options, reflect on what's truly important, and decide how to proceed with intention. In fact, the Stoics themselves emphasize the importance of taking a step back in moments of emotional turmoil. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to be patient and reflective in his meditations, writing, "When you are about to get angry, remind yourself, I'm about to act in a way that will harm me and others." By recognizing the power of emotion and giving yourself the time to reflect before acting, you allow yourself the opportunity to make better decisions. Think about a time when you reacted in anger without cooling down first. Maybe you said something harsh, acted impulsively, or allowed the situation to escalate. Now imagine how much better the outcome would have been if you had taken a moment to pause, reflect, and choose your response from a place of calm. Giving yourself time to cool down isn't about avoiding the issue. It's about handling it in a way that leads to a positive outcome. Remember, cooling down doesn't mean you'll lose control of the situation. It means you gain control over yourself. By taking a step back, you can return to the situation with a level head, allowing you to express your feelings calmly, listen more effectively, and resolve the conflict with clarity. Taking time to cool down also involves being compassionate with yourself. Don't beat yourself up for feeling angry. Anger is a natural human emotion, but how we handle it makes all the difference. If you've made a mistake or acted impulsively, give yourself the grace to reflect, learn, and do better next time. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. So the next time you feel the heat of anger rising, give yourself permission to step back, take a few moments to breathe, reflect, and return to the situation with a calm mind. This simple act of cooling down can prevent unnecessary conflict and help you respond with the self-control that is the mark of true strength. 10. Be kind to yourself in the heat of anger. It's easy to forget. One important thing: you're human. We all feel angry at times, and that's okay, but what often happens when we are angry is that we start to judge ourselves. We think, I shouldn't be this angry, or why can't I just control myself? We beat ourselves up for feeling the way we do, and in doing so, we add another layer of negative emotion on top of what we are already experiencing. The 10th step in handling anger is to be kind to yourself. Anger is a natural emotion. It's not a sign of weakness or failure. In fact, the Stoics believed that emotions like anger are a part of our human nature, and it's how we choose to respond to them that defines us. The key isn't to repress or shame yourself for feeling angry, but to acknowledge it, understand it, and handle it with grace. When we are kind to ourselves, we take away the power of judgment. Instead of adding guilt or frustration on top of the anger, we make space to process our emotions in a healthy way. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it means accepting that it's okay to feel what you feel without turning it into a self-blame game. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond by practicing self-compassion. We allow ourselves to accept our emotions without judgment, which opens the door to clearer thinking and better decision-making. Instead of seeing anger as something to be ashamed of, we can view it as an opportunity to reflect and grow. Think about it. How many times have you gotten angry only to later feel worse about yourself because you couldn't control it? It's easy to spiral into self-criticism, but that only fuels the negative emotions. When you are kind to yourself, you break the cycle. You allow yourself to experience the anger, learn from it, and move on. So the next time you feel your anger flaring up, pause and ask yourself, how can I be kind to myself in this moment? Maybe it's taking a few minutes to breathe, acknowledging that you are upset without blaming yourself, or simply reminding yourself that anger is a natural emotion that doesn't define you. Show yourself the same compassion that you would offer a friend in the same situation. By being kind to yourself, you'll not only handle your anger better, but you'll also build the emotional resilience needed to face future challenges with confidence and self-control. In the end, self-discipline isn't just about controlling your reactions. It's about treating yourself with kindness and understanding as you grow. The more you practice self-compassion, the easier it becomes to manage your emotions, including anger. Remember, you are learning, you are growing, and with each step you are becoming stronger, more balanced, and more in control of your emotions. Managing anger isn't about suppressing it or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about learning to understand it, control it, and express it in a way that serves you and the people around you. Throughout this episode, we've explored 10 powerful steps to handle your anger in healthier, more constructive ways, from acknowledging your emotions without judgment to giving yourself time to cool down and showing yourself kindness. Each of these steps is an invitation to practice self-discipline, patience, and mindfulness. They empower you to take control of your emotions rather than letting your emotions control you. Remember, anger is a natural human response. It's how you choose to manage it. That makes all the difference. So the next time you feel your temper rising, pause, breathe, and think about the tools you've learned today. Whether it's stepping back, focusing on solutions, or being kind to yourself, you have the ability to navigate your emotions with calm and clarity. The journey to emotional mastery isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And every small step you take towards controlling your anger is a victory. Let's be honest, most of us are harder on ourselves than anyone else ever could be. We criticize, doubt, and second-guess ourselves daily, and the result, we feel stuck, overwhelmed, and exhausted. But what if I told you that the way you talk to yourself holds the power to change everything? Yes, everything. Your self-talk isn't just harmless chatter. It's the script your brain follows, the energy your body responds to, and the mindset that shapes your entire life. For the next few minutes, we're going to dive into how intentional self-talk can rewire your brain, boost your energy, and help you break free from old patterns. And by the end, I'll challenge you to a simple 3-day practice that might just transform your reality. Ready to see what happens when you change the conversation in your head? Let's begin with the first point, the power of self-talk in shaping your reality. Have you ever stopped to notice how the way you talk to yourself shapes your entire reality? Think about it when you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never make it." How does your day unfold? Probably with more frustration, self-doubt, and missed opportunities. But when you say, "I can handle this," or "I'm learning and growing," everything starts to feel different. That's not a coincidence. Your self-talk is the foundation of your mindset, and your mindset influences every aspect of your life, from the way you handle challenges to the way you seize opportunities. Imagine two people facing the exact same setback, let's say a rejected job application. One person thinks, "I knew this would happen. I am just not cut out for this." The other person says, "This is disappointing, but it's not the end. I'll refine my approach and keep trying." The first person might give up entirely, while the second person uses the setback as fuel to improve what changed. Not the situation, but the internal dialogue. One mindset leads to stagnation, the other to resilience and growth. This principle isn't new. The Stoics, who mastered the art of mental discipline, understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The Stoics taught that while we can't control external events, we can control our internal responses. And self-talk. That's your internal response to every moment you encounter. So how do you use this power to shape a better reality for yourself? Start by becoming aware of your self-talk. Pay attention to the words running through your mind. Are they building you up or tearing you down? When you catch yourself being overly critical, pause and reframe. For example, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," try, "This is challenging, but I'm capable." It might feel forced at first, but over time it becomes second nature. Affirmations are another effective tool. Choose a few positive statements that resonate with you. I am strong, I am worthy, I am capable of growth. Repeat them daily, morning, night, or whenever. Self-doubt creeps in. Repetition strengthens these beliefs, and soon enough they become your default mindset. Visualization also plays a huge role. Close your eyes and see yourself succeeding. Whether it's nailing a presentation, reaching a personal goal, or simply being at peace, your brain starts to believe what it repeatedly envisions, and your actions align with that belief. But here's something we often overlook: self-compassion. Think about how you'd encourage a close friend going through a tough time. You wouldn't call them a failure for making a mistake, right? So why do it to yourself? Treat yourself with the same kindness when you stumble. Remind yourself that setbacks are part of the journey, not a reflection of your worth. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you care about deeply. When you do, your mind becomes a place of support, not sabotage. Your reality shifts, not because the world changes, but because you do too. Your thoughts create biochemical reactions in your body. Have you ever felt physically drained after a stressful day, even if you didn't do much physically, or felt energized simply because you were excited about something? That's not coincidence, it's chemistry. Every thought you have triggers a biochemical reaction in your body. This means your mindset isn't just influencing your mood, it's impacting your physical health and energy levels in real time. Let's break this down. When you have negative thoughts like, "I'll never get through this," your brain releases stress hormones such as cortisol. This hormone prepares your body for a perceived threat, increasing your heart rate and tensing your muscles. In the short term, it's useful for emergencies, but when negativity becomes a habit, your body stays in this stress state for too long, leading to fatigue, anxiety, and even illness. On the flip side, positive thoughts like "I can handle this" release feel-good chemicals such as dopamine and serotonin, which boost your mood, improve focus, and increase your overall energy. Picture this: Sarah, a young entrepreneur, faces a crucial business pitch. She spends days thinking, "I'm going to mess this up." By the time the pitch arrives, her body is already worn out from days of stress. Her mind is foggy and her confidence is shattered. Now imagine if Sarah had approached the same situation with, "I'm prepared, I can do this." Her body would have responded with calmness and clarity, giving her the best chance to succeed. The situation didn't change, her thoughts did, and so did her body's response. Stoicism, with its emphasis on inner discipline, aligns perfectly with this concept Epictetus taught. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reactions start with your thoughts, and those thoughts have a direct line to your body's chemistry. The Stoics believed that mastering your mind was key to mastering your life, and science now proves they were right. So how can you harness this connection for your benefit? First, start each morning with intentional self-talk before the day's stress kicks in. Take a moment to affirm your strength. "Today, I will handle whatever comes my way with calm and clarity." This sets a positive biochemical tone for your entire day. Second, practice mindfulness throughout the day. When negative thoughts arise, don't ignore them, acknowledge them, but then consciously shift your focus. Replace "this is too much" with "one step at a time." "I've got this." It's like flipping a switch in your brain, changing the chemical flow from stress to calm. Another practical tip: end your day by reflecting on 3 things you did well. This simple practice floods your brain with positive chemicals, reinforcing a cycle of confidence and well-being. Your body listens to every word your mind speaks when you choose your thoughts carefully. You are not just improving your mindset, you are enhancing your health, energy, and quality of life. The power is in your hands, or rather in your mind. 3. Your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagined experiences. Did you know that your brain processes what you imagine? Almost the same way it processes reality. It's fascinating, but it also means that your self-talk and mental imagery have immense power. When you constantly visualize failure or doubt, your brain reacts as if those fears are real, reinforcing anxiety and hesitation. But when you imagine success, your brain starts to believe it's already happening, setting you up for actual achievement. Let's put this into perspective. Think of athletes before a big game. Many of them use visualization techniques, picturing themselves scoring the winning goal, crossing the finish line, or making the perfect play. This isn't just mental fluff, it's neuroscience at work. Their brains can't fully distinguish between the imagined success and the real thing, which boosts their confidence and sharpens their focus when the moment arrives. Now imagine applying this to your own life. Say you have a challenging presentation at work. If you spend the days leading up to it thinking, "I'll mess up, they'll see right through me," your brain is already preparing for failure. Your nerves spike, your voice shakes, and your mind goes blank. But if you take time each day to close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself speaking confidently, engaging your audience, and nailing every point, your brain registers that as a rehearsal. By the time you're actually present, it feels familiar, like you've already succeeded. Before you even start, this aligns perfectly with Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations emphasized the power of mental preparation. He would reflect each morning on potential challenges he might face, preparing his mind to respond with calm and clarity. While the Stoics didn't have modern neuroscience, their practices reflect what science confirms today. Your mind shapes your reality even before it happens. So how can you make this work for you? Start by creating a mental movie of your goals. Whatever you are working toward, be it personal, professional, or emotional. Spend a few minutes each day vividly imagining yourself achieving it. See the details, feel the emotions, and immerse yourself in that success. Your brain will start to believe in that possibility, pushing you to take actions that align with that vision. When negative images pop up, don't panic. He chooses depth over quantity, placing value on integrity rather than outward appearances, and walks his path with a determination that society often misinterprets as loneliness. Yet within that solitude lies a quiet strength, a sanctuary where he connects with his true self, undisturbed by the fleeting judgments of the outside world. This is the essence of Stoic resilience, the hallmark of a man truly free. What about you? Are you willing to accept the challenge and discover the real strength within yourself? Let's explore this concept further through the lens of Stoic philosophy, where individuals are encouraged not only to master themselves, but to become truly free in their thoughts and actions. 1. A man who doesn't need friends to feel strong. Inner strength is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, best exemplified by the image of a man who does not need friends to feel complete. Why is such a person considered truly profoundly secure? Because he has found a source of strength within himself, a strength unshaken by others' opinions or the presence of anyone else. Epictetus, the eminent Stoic philosopher, once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them." Insecurity does not stem from the absence of friends, but from how we perceive solitude. When people understand that their value isn't tied to the number of people around them, they become as steadfast as a rock in the ocean, unmoved by the waves. Why do so many fear being alone? Could silence force them to confront unresolved thoughts and insecurities? They've been avoiding a strong individual steps into that space, faces themselves and finds peace within. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." This isn't isolation, it's a journey of self-discovery. True strength doesn't come from the number of friends or accolades, but from the ability to face oneself in the quietest moments. Take the life of Nikola Tesla as a real-world example. The great inventor lived with few friends, yet his ideas and inventions transformed the world. Tesla didn't let himself be swayed by praise or unnecessary social ties. He embraced solitude, focusing entirely on his mission. His life is a testament that true strength isn't found in the crowd, but in one's unwavering dedication and clarity of purpose amid the noise in our everyday lives. Think of the people we admire. A marathon runner doesn't rely on the crowds, cheers to keep running. They rely on their inner endurance. An artist doesn't need an audience while creating a masterpiece. They need a quiet space to bring their vision to life. These individuals aren't rejecting society. They've learned that their worth isn't defined by it. They stand firm because they understand, as Seneca wisely said, the greatest blessings of mankind are within us and our reach. The man who doesn't need friends to feel secure isn't someone who rejects relationships, but someone who has built a foundation of inner confidence. He knows that even if everyone else disappears, he still has himself, and that is enough. Like an oak tree weathering the storm, he is strong not because he avoids challenges, but because his roots run deep into the soil of self-awareness. Ask yourself, if today everyone you know disappeared, would you have the strength to stand firm? The answer lies in how you confront yourself, not in the number of contacts saved in your phone. 2. The power in solitude and silence. Have you ever wondered what happens when a man chooses to walk in silence unaccompanied by the crowd or the applause of society? Is he lacking lonely, or has he reached a state that few ever attain? The unwavering strength that comes from within the modern world conditions us to believe that a person's value is measured by the number of friends they have, likes on social media, or external validation. But the Stoic man, strong in his silence and solitude, has discovered a different truth. True worth needs no definition beyond oneself. Indeed, silence is not something to fear. It is a refuge, a place where true strength is forged. A man unafraid to face himself in solitude has learned to listen to the deepest voices within. In those moments, he uncovers truths about himself that the chaos of the world could never reveal. Take Mima, the renowned Japanese writer and thinker, as an example. Mima chose to withdraw from the limelight of the literary world to focus on honing his spirit and body through writing, martial arts, and meditation. He often described solitude as a sharp sword, helping him cut through distractions and the noise of society. Mima believed that only by confronting oneself in silence could one grasp the true meaning of existence. In his famous novel, The Temple of the Golden Pavilion, Mima portrayed a solitary character who finds strength through reflection, unperturbed by the frenzied pace of the outside world. This narrative mirrors Mika's own life, a man who spent countless hours in quiet contemplation to forge his philosophy. For him, solitude wasn't an escape from life, but a path to uncovering its essence. Similarly, consider Haruki Murakami, one of Japan's leading contemporary authors, known for his reclusive lifestyle. Murakami spends much of his time in a small room writing and running long distances daily. He once shared that during his solitary runs along empty roads, free from interruptions, he discovered the ideas for his deeply introspective novels. Murakami calls this the art of stillness, where solitude is not something to flee, but a tool for creativity. This demonstrates that solitude is not merely a quiet space, but a powerful means of unlocking one's inner strength. These examples show that solitude is not a frightening void, but an opportunity. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Figures like and Murakami prove that in a world filled with distractions, it is in solitude where extraordinary things are born beyond the limits society often imposes. Modern society often misinterprets solitude as weakness, but in reality it is the birthplace of true strength. It is the ability to feel whole without needing others to fill the void, and to fill those spaces yourself with purpose and resolve. A man strong in his solitude does not reject friendships or relationships. He chooses them deliberately. The people he allows into his life are those who share his values, not those who disturb the peace he has worked so hard to cultivate for such a man. Solitude is not a deficiency, but a gift, a time for reflection, nurturing the soul and becoming the best version of himself, like an unshakable fortress. His inner strength requires no external validation, and this, incomprehensible to the noisy world, is the ultimate proof of the resilience and freedom he has achieved. 3. Friendship as a choice, not a necessity. Friendship is a precious thing in life, but can we view it as a choice rather than an inevitable need? A man without friends, or with a very small circle of friends, is someone very safe. Not because he lives in isolation, but because he is not dependent on social relationships to feel complete. The Stoic philosophy, with thinkers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, has always emphasized that self-control and mental independence are the keys to achieving inner peace. This perspective does not encourage isolation, but rather shows that in this world relationships, although important, are not the determining factors of a person's happiness or worth. Marcus Aurelius in Meditations wrote, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." This can be understood as meaning that if a man lives without getting caught up in wasteful relationships, without being swayed by vanity or external praise, he will truly be free. This is the Stoic view, not depending on the outside, whether it be friendship or recognition, but finding peace within oneself. A person who lives without friends, or with only a small group of friends, does not lack social connection, but has chosen relationships that truly hold value. These people bring peace and intellectual growth. These friends are not ones he needs to feel whole, but ones he chooses because they contribute to his development without overshadowing or weakening his spirit. Think of someone like Steve Jobs. The man who created a technology empire didn't do so because he had countless friends, but because he carefully selected the people around him. Jobs never easily accepted relationships of low quality. He only maintained connections that truly helped him progress in his work and his thinking. His independent character and ability to make significant decisions in his life are a testament to modern Stoic philosophy. Steve Jobs chose a few friends, but each one of them was someone who could help him become the best version of himself. This does not mean that we must abandon all relationships. But it is important to understand that friendship is not an absolute necessity, it is a choice. Once you begin to choose relationships that you truly trust and that align with who you are, you will find that these relationships will enrich your life without creating pressure or dependency. The freedom that Stoics strive for is not total isolation, but the ability to live without depending on anyone or anything outside of oneself. Epictetus once said in his work, "Freedom is the only thing you can't give to someone else. If you don't have it, you can't give it away," and that is precisely what the man with a small but carefully chosen circle of friends can feel. Freedom and safety come from within his soul, not from recognition or connection with society. So have you ever wondered, if you didn't need a large group of friends, what kind of life would you live? And could you find peace and freedom in this selective choice without needing to be present at every party or social gathering? And for self-worth is independent of social approval. Have you ever wondered what would happen if our value was no longer bound by societal approval? What if we stopped measuring ourselves by the opinions of others and instead measured ourselves by the standards we set for ourselves? For the Stoic philosopher, true value is not something bestowed by the crowd or empty praise, but rather the reflection of our actions and beliefs. Epictetus in his discourses once said, "If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity." This is a powerful reminder that seeking value through societal approval is a path that leads to insecurity. A man who does not need recognition from society is one who truly understands this principle. He does not measure his worth by the number of friends he has, his social status, or admiration from others. Recognizing what you're attached to is the first step toward releasing its hold on you. Next, practice mindful acceptance. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means acknowledging what's outside your control and choosing how to respond. For example, if someone's behavior is upsetting you, instead of trying to change them, focus on setting boundaries and managing your own emotions. You can care deeply about someone while still maintaining a healthy level of emotional detachment. Here's something practical you can do. Each day, take 5 minutes to reflect on one thing you're attached to that's causing you stress. Ask yourself, is this something I can control, or is it something I need to let go of? If it's outside your control, practice mentally releasing it by saying, "I choose to let go of what I cannot control." This simple exercise helps train your mind to focus on what matters and let go of unnecessary burdens. Ask yourself, am I holding on because I truly care, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I let go? Fear-based attachment only leads to suffering, while healthy detachment creates space for growth, freedom, and peace. Remember, detachment isn't about abandoning people or responsibilities. It's about protecting your inner world from being thrown into chaos by external events. It's about showing up fully, but without clinging to outcomes. When you unlock the power of detachment, you begin to experience life with greater clarity, balance, and emotional resilience. You free yourself from the weight of things you cannot control, and in doing so, you find a lighter, more peaceful way to live. Lesson 2. Stepping back for mental clarity. When life feels overwhelming, when emotions are high and your mind is clouded, it's easy to react impulsively, make poor decisions, or let stress take over. In these moments, one of the most powerful things you can do is step back. Taking a step back isn't about avoidance. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions so you can gain mental clarity. When you're caught up in the intensity of a situation, everything feels urgent. Your mind races with thoughts, your emotions escalate, and it becomes harder to think clearly. But by pausing and stepping back, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally, you give yourself the opportunity to see the situation from a different perspective. This practice helps you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Imagine a painter standing too close to their canvas. Up close, all they see are individual brush strokes and small imperfections, making it difficult to understand the full picture. But when they take a few steps back, they gain a clearer view of the entire painting. The same principle applies to your mind. When you step back from overwhelming situations, you gain perspective. You can see the problem for what it really is, rather than through the distorted lens of heightened emotions. Transcribed stepping back can be as simple as taking a deep breath, going for a short walk, or even journaling your thoughts. These small actions create mental distance, allowing your emotions to settle and your mind to regain its balance. Once you've created that distance, you're in a better position to reflect on what's truly happening and decide how to respond in a way that aligns with your values. Stoicism teaches us that clarity comes from calmness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By stepping back, you take control of your mind, refusing to let external chaos dictate your internal state. This is where real strength lies, not in controlling every situation, but in controlling how you perceive and respond to it. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a situation, practice the pause technique. Before reacting, pause for 10 seconds, take a deep breath, count to 10, or simply close your eyes for a moment. In that brief pause, ask yourself, what's the best response here? Not the quickest or easiest, but the one that aligns with who I want to be. This small practice can drastically improve your ability to make thoughtful, clear decisions. Another method is perspective journaling. When you're feeling stuck or emotionally charged, take 5 to 10 minutes to write down your thoughts, as if you were giving advice to a friend in the same situation. This practice helps you step outside your emotions and view the problem from a more objective angle. Ask yourself, am I too close to this situation to see it clearly? If the answer is yes, step back. Give yourself the time and space to reflect. Not every situation requires an immediate reaction, and often the wisest actions come after moments of calm reflection. Remember, stepping back isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's a deliberate act of choosing clarity over chaos, reflection over reaction. By making it a habit to step back when things feel overwhelming, you cultivate a calmer, more thoughtful approach to life. You learn to see challenges for what they are, temporary obstacles, not permanent problems, and in doing so, you regain control over your mind and your emotions. When you master the art of stepping back, you not only make better decisions, you also create a life where peace of mind becomes your default state, no matter what storms life throws your way. Lesson 3. Deciding when to distance yourself. One of the hardest decisions we face in life is knowing when to distance ourselves from people or situations. Whether it's a draining relationship, a toxic work environment, or even a personal habit that no longer serves you, holding on too long can take a toll on your emotional health. But how do you know when it's time to create that distance? And more importantly, how can you do it in a way that aligns with your values and preserves your peace? The first step in making this decision is self-awareness. Ask yourself, is this relationship or situation helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Growth doesn't always feel comfortable, so it's important to distinguish between temporary discomfort that leads to improvement and persistent negativity that drains your energy. If something consistently leaves you feeling anxious, unappreciated, or diminished, it might be time to consider creating distance. Many people struggle with distancing themselves because of guilt. You may feel responsible for other people's feelings or worry that creating distance makes you a bad person. But the truth is, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining your well-being. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control other people, only our own actions and choices. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Distancing yourself is a response, a deliberate act of protecting your emotional health. It's also helpful to reflect on your values. Does staying in this situation or relationship align with who you want to be? Sometimes we stay in unhealthy dynamics out of habit or fear of change. But if staying means compromising your values or well-being, it's worth considering a different path. Remember, creating distance doesn't mean you're abandoning someone or giving up. It means you're choosing to prioritize your peace and personal growth. Once you've decided it's time to create distance, the next step is to do it quietly and respectfully. There's no need for grand declarations or confrontations unless they're absolutely necessary. In many cases, simply spending less time with a person or gradually disengaging from a situation is enough. This quiet approach allows you to protect your energy without adding unnecessary drama. Here's something practical you can do. If you're unsure whether it's time to distance yourself, try a trial separation. Give yourself a set period, say 2 weeks, where you intentionally limit your engagement with the person or situation. During this time, pay attention to how you feel. Are you calmer, more focused? Do you miss the interaction, or do you feel relieved without it? This trial period can provide valuable insight into whether creating permanent distance is the right choice. Ask yourself, am I staying out of obligation, or because this truly adds value to my life? If the answer leans toward obligation or guilt, it might be time to take a step back. Remember, you can care about someone and still choose to protect your boundaries. Distance doesn't erase love or respect. It preserves your well-being. Another key factor to consider is communication. While quiet distancing works in many cases, some situations may require an honest conversation. If the relationship is worth preserving but needs adjustment, consider expressing your feelings and setting clear boundaries. Sometimes creating distance isn't about cutting ties. It's about redefining the relationship in a way that works for both parties. Remember, deciding when to distance yourself is about choosing what serves your growth and well-being. It's not about blame or resentment. It's about creating space for clarity, peace, and personal development. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for healthier relationships, better opportunities, and a life that aligns with your values. Ultimately, life is too short to stay stuck in situations that drain your energy. By learning when and how to distance yourself, you take an important step toward living with greater purpose, peace, and self-respect. Lesson 4: Building trust through meaningful conversations when life feels overwhelming. One of the most powerful ways to find clarity and emotional relief is by engaging in deep, meaningful conversations with trusted individuals. Recognizing what you're attached to is the first step toward releasing its hold on you. Next, practice mindful acceptance. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means acknowledging what's outside your control and choosing how to respond. For example, if someone's behavior is upsetting you, instead of trying to change them, focus on setting boundaries and managing your own emotions. You can care deeply about someone while still maintaining a healthy level of emotional detachment. Here's something practical you can do. Each day, take 5 minutes to reflect on one thing you're attached to that's causing you stress. Ask yourself, is this something I can control, or is it something I need to let go of? If it's outside your control, practice mentally releasing it by saying, I choose to let go of what I cannot control. This simple exercise helps train your mind to focus on what matters and let go of unnecessary burdens. Ask yourself, am I holding on because I truly care, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I let go? Fear-based attachment only leads to suffering, while healthy detachment creates space for growth, freedom, and peace. Remember, detachment isn't about abandoning people or responsibilities. It's about protecting your inner world from being thrown into chaos by external events. It's about showing up fully, but without clinging to outcomes. When you unlock the power of detachment, you begin to experience life with greater clarity, balance, and emotional resilience. You free yourself from the weight of things you cannot control, and in doing so, you find a lighter, more peaceful way to live. Lesson 2. Stepping back for mental clarity. When life feels overwhelming, when emotions are high and your mind is clouded, it's easy to react impulsively, make poor decisions, or let stress take over. In these moments, one of the most powerful things you can do is step back. Taking a step back isn't about avoidance. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions so you can gain mental clarity. When you're caught up in the intensity of a situation, everything feels urgent. Your mind races with thoughts, your emotions escalate, and it becomes harder to think clearly. But by pausing and stepping back, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally, you give yourself the opportunity to see the situation from a different perspective. This practice helps you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Imagine a painter standing too close to their canvas. Up close, all they see are individual brush strokes and small imperfections, making it difficult to understand the full picture. But when they take a few steps back, they gain a clearer view of the entire painting. The same principle applies to your mind. When you step back from overwhelming situations, you gain perspective. You can see the problem for what it really is, rather than through the distorted lens of heightened emotions. Transcribed stepping back can be as simple as taking a deep breath, going for a short walk, or even journaling your thoughts. These small actions create mental distance, allowing your emotions to settle and your mind to regain its balance. Once you've created that distance, you're in a better position to reflect on what's truly happening and decide how to respond in a way that aligns with your values. Stoicism teaches us that clarity comes from calmness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." By stepping back, you take control of your mind, refusing to let external chaos dictate your internal state. This is where real strength lies, not in controlling every situation, but in controlling how you perceive and respond to it. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a situation, practice the pause technique. Before reacting, pause for 10 seconds, take a deep breath, count to 10, or simply close your eyes for a moment. In that brief pause, ask yourself, what's the best response here? Not the quickest or easiest, but the one that aligns with who I want to be. This small practice can drastically improve your ability to make thoughtful, clear decisions. Another method is perspective journaling. When you're feeling stuck or emotionally charged, take 5 to 10 minutes to write down your thoughts as if you were giving advice to a friend in the same situation. This practice helps you step outside your emotions and view the problem from a more objective angle. Ask yourself, am I too close to this situation to see it clearly? If the answer is yes, step back. Give yourself the time and space to reflect. Not every situation requires an immediate reaction, and often the wisest actions come after moments of calm reflection. Remember, stepping back isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's a deliberate act of choosing clarity over chaos, reflection over reaction. By making it a habit to step back when things feel overwhelming, you cultivate a calmer, more thoughtful approach to life. You learn to see challenges for what they are, temporary obstacles, not permanent problems, and in doing so, you regain control over your mind and your emotions. When you master the art of stepping back, you not only make better decisions, you also create a life where peace of mind becomes your default state, no matter what storms life throws your way. Lesson 3. Deciding when to distance yourself. One of the hardest decisions we face in life is knowing when to distance ourselves from people or situations. Whether it's a draining relationship, a toxic work environment, or even a personal habit that no longer serves you, holding on too long can take a toll on your emotional health. But how do you know when it's time to create that distance? And more importantly, how can you do it in a way that aligns with your values and preserves your peace? The first step in making this decision is self-awareness. Ask yourself, is this relationship or situation helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Growth doesn't always feel comfortable, so it's important to distinguish between temporary discomfort that leads to improvement and persistent negativity that drains your energy. If something consistently leaves you feeling anxious, unappreciated, or diminished, it might be time to consider creating distance. Many people struggle with distancing themselves because of guilt. You may feel responsible for other people's feelings or worry that creating distance makes you a bad person. But the truth is, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining your well-being. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control other people, only our own actions and choices. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Distancing yourself is a response, a deliberate act of protecting your emotional health. It's also helpful to reflect on your values. Does staying in this situation or relationship align with who you want to be? Sometimes we stay in unhealthy dynamics out of habit or fear of change. But if staying means compromising your values or well-being, it's worth considering a different path. Remember, creating distance doesn't mean you're abandoning someone or giving up. It means you're choosing to prioritize your peace and personal growth. Once you've decided it's time to create distance, the next step is to do it quietly and respectfully. There's no need for grand declarations or confrontations unless they're absolutely necessary. In many cases, simply spending less time with a person or gradually disengaging from a situation is enough. This quiet approach allows you to protect your energy without adding unnecessary drama. Here's something practical you can do. If you're unsure whether it's time to distance yourself, try a trial separation. Give yourself a set period, say 2 weeks, where you intentionally limit your engagement with a person or situation. During this time, pay attention to how you feel. Are you calmer, more focused? Do you miss the interaction, or do you feel relieved without it? This trial period can provide valuable insight into whether creating permanent distance is the right choice. Ask yourself, am I staying out of obligation, or because this truly adds value to my life? If the answer leans toward obligation or guilt, it might be time to take a step back. Remember, you can care about someone and still choose to protect your boundaries. Distance doesn't erase love or respect. It preserves your well-being. Another key factor to consider is communication. While quiet distancing works in many cases, some situations may require an honest conversation. If the relationship is worth preserving but needs adjustment, consider expressing your feelings and setting clear boundaries. Sometimes creating distance isn't about cutting ties. It's about redefining the relationship in a way that works for both parties. Remember, deciding when to distance yourself is about choosing what serves your growth and well-being. It's not about blame or resentment. It's about creating space for clarity, peace, and personal development. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for healthier relationships, better opportunities, and a life that aligns with your values. Ultimately, life is too short to stay stuck in situations that drain your energy. By learning when and how to distance yourself, you take an important step toward living with greater purpose, peace, and self-respect. Lesson 4: Building trust through meaningful conversations when life feels overwhelming. One of the most powerful ways to find clarity and emotional relief is by engaging in deep, meaningful conversations with trusted individuals.